So I think, before we start going into the nuggets, I was thinking it might be helpful if we just take, for a moment, sort of zoom out and just look at just have a bit of a more theoretical understanding of how trauma impacts an individual, their attachment style, and then how that impacts the relationship. Because I think that will really inform and help make sense for how we tailor the model a little bit to work with trauma survivors. So, one thing that I think is important to take into account when we're working with folks that have a complex trauma background, these are folks that often have not known any sense of security and safety in their world. They don't know what safe presence feels like. And as a result, they've constructed these rigid attachment styles that, in fact, make it difficult to create the kind of safety that we're trying to cultivate in EFT, the safe bond. So you have folks that have a lack of security, and they're coming in because there's relationship distress, and that in and of itself perpetuates the effects of trauma. Yeah. And then that perpetuates the relationship distress. So you have folks coming in these really negative absorbing states when there's trauma in the mix. And the real tragedy is we're trying to cultivate a sense of safety. The trauma survivor needs it urgently, like more than anything, they need a sense of safety. But the tragedy is that the source of comfort and connection is also the source of danger for many of these folks. So it's a real bind for trauma survivors, and it can make it very difficult for us as EFT therapists when we get very conflicting signals, for the longing for connection and then the terror of connection. Yeah. The other piece of it, I'm just going to say this one little bit, and then we can drill down a bit more into how we work with this. You have folks that have a much smaller window of tolerance for emotion before they flip into either a state of hyperarousal, right, and they're very flooded, and that can look like very dysregulated anger, or into total shutdown, right, and that's very numbing, and they're just gone, they're offline. Yeah. So as emotion-focused therapists, we're sort of homing pigeons for emotion, and we're working with folks that have very, very little tolerance for emotion. So that poses a real significant challenge for us as well in terms of working with folks. So I just wanted to put that out there because that really sets the frame for how we tailor the model then to work more thoughtfully and carefully with these presentations.